All right, let's talk about H-1B scandals in Frisco. I'm James Parker. This is the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, it's been real suspicious how Indian immigrants were 3% of the population in Frisco, and now they're 30% of the population in Frisco in just 20 years. How could there be that much legal need without any chicanery, all coming to one town in 2 decades? How can this all be on the up and up? And what are the consequences of rapidly changing demographics of foreigners supplanting the locals? Well, my next guest, I hope I'm saying this right, Mark Palaciano. He's been doing some great work. I'm sorry, I've just been reading it online, so I haven't heard your name said out loud. But you've uncovered some real interesting stuff connecting these H-1B visas and the Frisco City Council. Just pretend like the guy listening to us has never heard your story before. Give us the quick summary in like a 2-minute synopsis.
Awesome. Hey, yeah, James, thanks for having me on. You said my name right, Mark Palaciano. I'm a
Cool.
42-year-old lifelong Texan. I worked at T-Mobile for 17 years. I asked to be laid off from my job so I could go expose how corporations are destroying America from within. I started speaking up at Frisco City Council, sharing my story about T-Mobile because this is where the big office that I worked out of for over 10 years is located at. And I was getting a lot of resistance as I was speaking at Frisco City Council. They even started turning the camera to my back on my second visit there, where I'm speaking at the city council meeting. They started to refuse showing my face, and they wouldn't help me. And I was there, asking for them to help me as elected officials and a lifelong Texan. I'm exposing corruption from a corporation that I've experienced, discrimination through diversity, equity, inclusion, discrimination for being unvaccinated, exposing how T-Mobile spends unlimited money on transgender surgeries while limiting benefits for in vitro. So anyway, all this other stuff that I've been talking about T-Mobile. Well, one of the things I started talking about in December 2024 was how T-Mobile uses the H-1B process to employ foreigners while they're laying off Americans. So T-Mobile has been laying off Americans. The executives have been dumping over $5 billion worth of stock, but yet they're hiring H-1B employees. And so I started talking about that. Then I went to Frisco, and my first video on talking about the, Indian takeover in Frisco was back in August. And I started talking about how the Frisco mayor has a big amount of his donors are Indian. Like 4 of his top donors are Indians that do not even live in his city. They're all in, business. They have over 140 something businesses registered to these 4 people, and they're donating money to him. And so I exposed that. Well, I actually, unfortunately, the state of Texas prosecuted me for harassment charge on with T-Mobile, and I went to jail for a few months. So I was in jail from August to November, and I came out what was it, January 20th. I came back to Frisco City Council meeting, and I took a different approach because H-1B has been popular in the news, and I just went and I asked the mayor and Frisco's first Indian council member a lot of questions, that have now gone viral, and I think people are demanding answers. I'll stop there. I can rattle on too long, so you
Wow.
tell me when I need to be
That
a
was
little quiet.
that was a perfect summary, Mark. It's almost like you've done this before. Now let's fast forward to now. What are these questions and why are they such a problem?
Yeah, and hey, I haven't. This is actually the first time I've been on the radio, and only the second time I've been asked to tell my story on someone's platform. So it means a lot to me that you're asking me here. I asked the mayor about these top donors. Like, why are these, 4 Indian donors giving you money when they don't even live in your city? I asked the first Frisco Indian council member some questions. I would like to also mention that my first question was about him using a consulting firm where the CEO had been convicted of fraud. That was a mistake on my behalf. I'm confused. They had the same name from a consulting firm that was in McKinney and Fort Worth. So that's my apologies to Bert out there. But then I asked him, hey, why are some of your donors so heavily involved in H-1B? Like one of his donors has, I think it was 23 H-1B companies registered to one address. And I'm not accusing Bert Thacker of fraud, but I'm digging into his donors because that's all public information. And I'm asking why these people are backing him. And I think it's very fair questions to ask.
Why do you think they're backing him?
What I think people need to understand in Frisco, like you said it. So the population over the past 20 years has exploded from 2.5% to 33% of the Frisco population. And Bert is the first Indian council member in Frisco. He was put in place last July. And if people don't wake up in Frisco soon enough, the entire Frisco City Council can be Indian. Because let's be real, these Indians, they showed up to the voting polls. And if you're a Frisco resident and you're not showing up to the voting polls, and you have a bunch of foreigners that have moved here and they're showing up to the voting polls, they're going to beat you. So I think that they are backing him, because you're seeing Frisco being taken over from India. And let me be clear, I don't have a problem with Indian people, right? Like, I have a problem with the way the system is using these people, and I want to say destroying our country and city from within.
So, Mark, let's talk about the. Yeah, we got a couple minutes here. Let's talk about the questionable amounts of businesses that are listed at one address. Is there any plausible explanation for that?
I don't. I don't. There's a lot of good information. There's other people on X. I think like Nick Lee, Virgil. I don't know how to say his last name. There's other people that are doing exposing a lot of this H-1B fraud, and it does not seem very good that a lot of these that like one address has 24 businesses registered to it. So I don't want to say it's fraud because I'm not educated enough into speaking to it, but I know there's a lot of people on X that you can go find their accounts and they will expose to you how a lot of this works.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm in the same boat. I'm no lawyer. I'm no legal expert. I don't know if that's on the up and up. It sounds like fraud. And you've actually asked, what's the explanation for it? What's the answer they've given you?
Oh, they will not answer me. That's the one thing that,
Okay.
I speak at these city councils because I know my First Amendment right is protected under the Texas Open Meetings Act and the city council. So they don't have to answer me. They don't have to answer any of the questions I ask. But I'm glad to see that I finally went pretty viral to where now people are like, hey, yeah, they should answer these questions. And I think there should be more news outlets that should be applying pressure to the Frisco mayor for him to answer these questions.
Can you hang on for another segment here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to continue with local, I guess, what do we call you, activist here? Or just a concerned citizen?
Yeah, I mean, I call myself the T-Mobile whistleblower, but as you can see, I'm talking about a lot of other topics these days.
All right, Mark Palaciano is going to continue because the H-1B story is starting to catch a little bit of traction. I mean, this guy's already gone to jail fighting against this, and we're finally giving his story a little bit of shine here, and hopefully this can catch on. But I want to dig a little bit more into what's going on with the Frisco governance and also his backstory with T-Mobile. There's a little bit more we can pick at in the wound there. If you have any comments, 800 288 9227. Any questions for Mark? 800 288 9227. Because I'm not sure if this is on the up and up, but it sure does look fishy. And we'll talk about it next on The James Show. This is News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. How bad is the H-1B visa fraud in Texas? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I know, good to see you too. Because this is getting hot now. This is getting hot. In fact, we had Governor Abbott just declare a pause on all H-1B visas for the Texas university system, which is quite interesting because, as you'll remember, it was just 2 weeks ago, State Rep Brian Harrison was on The James Show when I was live at Whiskey and Rye at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. And he was saying that the state of Texas is one of the biggest H-1B visa employers in the state. And actually, he said it is the biggest H-1B visa employer in the state. And some of these were completely unnecessary. H-1Bs is supposed to be for, jobs that we can't fill easily with American citizens, or maybe there's just not enough engineers to go around, or software engineers, or some guy who knows this one coding language. But the jobs in the university system were like graphic designer, web developer, communications manager. Like we don't need to bring H-1B visa people in to clean the toilets or to do jobs that Americans could easily do. So there was another H-1B visa scam that was uncovered last week by Sarah Gonzalez, our friend from both the Blaze and Texas Scorecard. I think we're going to have her on, if not tomorrow, sometime this week, about her big story. We had Kaylee Campbell on, who was uncovering H-1B suspicious behavior here in North Texas. And my current guest, Mark Palaciano, has actually been so deep in this that he's explained the part about how you went to jail. Let's go ahead and be open and honest with this, because this is going to be something that critics point at. So let's just go ahead and front load the response to that criticism. How did you end up going to jail for looking into this too hard?
Well, that's where it's not related to H-1B, but as I told you, I am a lifelong Texan turned T-Mobile whistleblower, and I got a harassment charge from a T-Mobile executive in Collin County. The the system was weaponized by T-Mobile to prosecute me. For example, my case was in Collin County. Days before my trial starts, I learned that my constitutional judge from Collin County is now out of town, and a retired liberal judge from Dallas is trying my case. I've documented all this on my website. I am extremely transparent about what I've gone through. You can go to my social medias, Instagram, X, YouTube, everything's documented there. But this is all related. The reason why I speak at Frisco is because this is where the T-Mobile office is that I worked out of. Well, I've been talking about that. I talk about a lot more than H-1B. I really talk about how what I believe is our state and our country is really falling apart. I mean, like you mentioned some of those roles earlier that are on H-1Bs in the government. T-Mobile this last for 2025, they paid out $81.5 million to employees on H-1B visas. They had, can't remember the exact number, but 500 something employees on H-1B visas across the countries. And a lot of them are software engineers. There was even an SVP on there for corporate strategy, all sorts of roles. But like software engineers, do you know how many of our Gen Z Americans are going to school to learn this stuff? They could do those same jobs. So I don't know why we're bringing people over from other countries to do that.
Well, I worked in, I actually went to college for IT, and I had IT jobs. I had 3 of them in 2 years, and I got laid off 3 times. And this was during the dot-com bubble bursting in 2000 and 2001. And every time it was because my job got sent overseas to India. And so it now just seems we're just bringing the call centers over here. Instead of sending our job to some call center on the other side of the planet, we're just bringing the call center over here. And, these are jobs that not only did we used to do, I used to do. And some of these jobs are like Miss Parker could take some of these jobs that are being filled by H-1B visa holders in the university system. You see these job listings, and this should really hit home that they are undercutting you. And I don't mean you, I mean the people listening. They're undercutting you. They're taking opportunities for your improvement and giving it to these people who shouldn't even be here. And I guess technically the way it's working on paper is this looks legal, but this can't be legal.
Well, there's two aspects to it. I like to I'm also speaking up because in that Frisco office, T-Mobile has laid off hundreds of employees out of that office, all while they're employing these H-1B visas, all while these executives make the most money they've ever made, and they're dumping over $5 billion in stock as insiders. But there's corporations that are using H-1B, and that process seems very legal. I don't think these companies are going to break the law. But then there's also what's going on is you have it seems to be mostly Indian people that are opening up small H-1B companies for employment. And that's how they're bringing people over. And from the way I understand, when you bring over an employee for H-1B visa, that employee also gets more visas to bring their family over. So when you're bringing over one person to do a job, you might have a family of 5 that's coming over here.
All right. So what's your website? How do people get involved and learn more about your story?
I appreciate you letting me plug that. It's just my name. I'm going to spell it out: MarcPalasciano.com. And the reason why I have to spell that out is because my shadow banning and censorship is so severe that it's hard to find me. I think you're kind of right now, you're probably like, holy cow, this guy's talked about a lot of stuff. And this is only the second time I've been asked to come talk on a bigger platform. I think it is a travesty that more Texas publications and news outlets are not talking about me and my story. I've emailed Greg Abbott, Ken Paxton, all the elected officials in Collin County. I've been begging for people to help me as a lifelong Texan, and yet I'm sitting here and I'm the only one telling my story after 30 months of this.
Well, look, if we wanted to get more news coverage, we would just fit the narrative, but I just can't do that, and neither can you. And look, I'm still digging into your T-Mobile story. I found you getting the shaft at a Frisco City Council meeting in the in the public speaking points, and then I was clicking through, and I've only read the beginning of your T-Mobile stuff, so we might have you on again here. So it's great to meet you. Keep doing your good work, and feel free to reach out to me and send me an email or a message on social media next time you see something that you think is show worthy.
I appreciate you having me on, and it's refreshing to meet somebody else with common sense that's willing to go against the narrative.
Well, there's I think that's most of us in the general population, but a fleeting minority when it comes to the media. So, Mark Palaciano, thank you very much, sir.